started off as a developer in TCS, and then somewhere I saw on LinkedIn that data engineering jobs are paying well. So that was the first. I have cried so many times, I cannot tell you.
So on your day-to-day basis, how much coding is involved?
In the latest trends, you will see Azure being one high demand, right?
And during the interviews, what is your expectation from the candidate?
See, I don't believe in micromanagement. I think that if someone is given the freedom to work at their own pace, and they do come back. 7 years experience, you can have around 30 to 35, and then if you give more interviews, it can go up to 40, 42.
You know, being an aspiring data engineer, when you apply for a job application, then who approves your profile? It is the hiring manager. So it's very important to know the entire mindset of the hiring manager, what kind of skill sets they are looking from a candidate nowadays, plus what kind of questions they will be asking in the interviews, and most important, how do they judge a candidate in the interview. And that is the reason in this podcast I am going to have a discussion with the data engineering manager itself. So she will be sharing all her experience and most important, all the important secrets and the tips which can help you to crack the data engineering interviews. So watch this podcast till the very end and you will get to know more about these things. Plus in the 2025, based on her inputs, how you can kickstart your career in the data engineering, what all things you need to learn, what kind of certifications probably you can do, and how you can build your projects. All these important points she will be touching upon, and you will also get to know more about the life of a data engineering manager, because after a couple of years spending in the data engineering domain, you will be also on that level. So watch this insightful podcast and gain as much as knowledge you can, and also don't forget to share it with your fellow friends. And if you're new to the channel, then hit the subscribe button and press the notification icon. And a very important announcement for all the aspiring data analysts. So doesn't matter if you're coming from a complete non-tech background, coming from a tech background, and if you're aspired to become a data analyst in the top-notch companies, plus you want to crack them with a really good high-paying salaries, then in the 2025 you need to work on some really important skill set of our data analytics. And a lot of time people feel really confused because they do not have a sequential structured curriculum, plus do not have the practical hands-on to become a top-notch data analyst. And that is the reason we at Grow Data Skills are bringing the new batch of our most upgraded data analytics bootcamp with the business intelligence. So in the 12 weeks of program, you will be learning the entire data analytics from basic to advanced with the practical industry level projects in the live classroom itself. Your doubts will be also resolved in the live classes, plus offline doubt support is also there. And that is not it. We have our dedicated placement assistants as well, where we will be helping you with the interview guide, quizzes, assignments, solutions, the full on mentorship, plus the resume building sessions, the LinkedIn profile making sessions, and a lot more. So in this bootcamp, starting from the SQL, Python, statistics, Excel, Power BI, all the real world projects, business intelligence, A/B testing, AI component, Copilot, all these things you are going to learn. So just come here with a learning mindset, and I can assure that in the 12 weeks you will be really good in the data analytics with the projects, and you can crack any good product based company with a high paying salary. So link has been given in the description. Do check it out, or you can visit www.growdataskills.com. And since this is going to be a year end and we want to give a really cool offer for all the early birds, so you can use the coupon to get the exclusive discount. So hurry up and enroll right now, because live classes are going to start from 11th January 2025. And if you have any query or doubt, feel free to give us a call or a WhatsApp message on this number. All right, so thank you so much, Chandrali, for joining me in this podcast. Really excited to have a conversation about the life of a data engineering manager, so that a lot of aspiring data engineers can learn from your experience. So it would be really good if you can give a short introduction about yourself to the audience, anything you want to discuss about your past and current background.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. First of all, I'm really glad to be here. Yeah, I have almost 8 years of experience since when I started, and I started off as a developer in TCS, and then I was working on SQL. And there I got the interest to work into data engineering, because Hadoop was also there on I'm from CS background, so I kind of liked that subject, so I wanted to explore that, and I got the opportunities internally first, and then I thought I'll just make a switch into other companies and see. So Tiger Analytics is the first one after TCS, and I did a lot of R&D work in that, so it really helped me grow into this.
How has your overall journey been so far in the data domain? Like back in 2016, you started as a developer and analyst in TCS, and now like completely into data engineering, and that too on a managerial role. So, when and how did you exactly find your interest in the data engineering and thought to pursue it as a career?
Yeah. So this story is very funny. I'll just tell you. So I started as a developer, and I was working mainly. So basically, as fresher, I was working on Excel sheets. Like what they make freshers do. And then I had the opportunity to work in SQL. So I was really good in SQL in college. Also, I that was the only subject I got good marks in. So I thought that I will, enhance my career on that only. And then when I started working on premise also in our project, we had this HDFS thing. So that also I thought I will explore. So I was working as a tech lead at that time. And then somewhere I saw on LinkedIn that data engineering jobs are paying well. So that was the first idea that why don't I explore this, in some other companies where actually they deal with data engineering things, because, TCS as a whole, it's not that much exposure to development of data engineering projects. So I started exploring, and Tiger Analytics offer also came like, it was not on my list, to be very honest. I was giving interviews at that time. I cracked a lot. It was the last company I had cracked, and I thought I will just, go into this. So in Tiger, we had this R&D department, where we used to do very out of the box projects. So some things which are, not even on the internet, we used to do that. So then there I found pretty much interest. And after that, I changed again. So I thought I will be the architect. In the architect role, I wanted to try, because I was doing certifications, and apart from coding, I wanted to make the design. So recently I got that opportunity also to make the design of an end-to-end project. So how it works, dealing with the client, explaining why should we use this, why should we not use this. So overall, the journey has been a little like a roller coaster. But again, if anyone asks me why data engineering, the main thing is it pays well.
Here comes the truth,
Yeah.
and this is what I have been saying since very long. It pays really well. So maybe quick follow-up question. So as you like were already in the developer, so maybe I should not ask this question, but as you mentioned, mostly you were on the Excel, SQL.
Yeah.
But when you compare it with the data engineering, right, it's core engineering related task, right? Typical programming would be included, and lots of other tech stacks, right, which sometimes could be technically challenging. So was there any point you felt okay, that means you have made a wrong decision to go into data engineering? You are coming out from that analytics kind of background. So was there any moment like
Yeah,
that?
lot of times. I have cried so many times, I cannot tell you. So,
Oh God.
yeah, I was telling about this R&D project, right? So there we were working on a very, creating a very separate module, and we were creating our own data profiler, which is not on the internet, or which is not a module by itself. So writing the code for that, and it's not like simple Python code, which you can get from the internet, or you can get from the books. So that was the biggest point when I thought, name, I cannot do it. I don't think I'm made for this. Let me go back to SQL. Let me ask for SQL projects. But again, I remember one mentor of mine who told me a very beautiful thing, that if you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything. If you're writing at least 2 lines of code one day, in 5 days, you're writing 10 lines of code. So doing something is better than doing nothing. So that hit me. That it literally hit me. And I completed that thing, I think, in 2 weeks after I heard that.
Wow.
So like, atomic habits, basically. You do step by step. So yeah,
So
there were a lot of times I faced this.
that shows the importance of good colleagues, mentors
Yes.
as well around
Yes.
you, which can
Yeah.
like push. And as you mentioned about the programming, so you being on the managerial role, and as you mentioned, handling the architect roles as well, responsibilities, designing the things. So on your day-to-day basis, how much coding is involved? Like, do you actually code on daily basis, or it's maybe some point of time, some contribution, but mostly on the designing and architecting? How is it basically for you?
So For me personally, I always try to keep it a habit of coding, because if I go out of it, I will forget it, because it's not possible to practice lead code every day, right? So whenever my juniors do any coding, I try to go into it at least, so I'm in touch with it. But from time constraint, if you look at it, like if I break down my 8 hours or 9 hours of day, which actually is not 8 or 9 hours, it's more than that, but if I try to break it down, so most of the part goes into following up with clients and getting their requirements. If there are some doubts from my juniors, my team members, getting that sorted, then yeah, I mean, you can say like it's 60-40. So I try to give 40% to coding, definitely, because I am dealing with two projects, where in one project also I have worked as an individual contributor, so I need to be doing coding over there.
So, considering the rapid inclusion of new tech frameworks, right, day by day, we have seen how fast data engineering is moving, new tech stack, plus the demand of this profile, as you said, it pays well, so demand is there. What kind of extensive and detailed roadmap would you like to suggest to anyone who want to start their career in data engineering in 2025, based on your overall experience and the latest trends?
Okay, so in the latest trends, you will see Azure being on high demand, right? And even more than AWS, I see that. So, but what I always suggest is, even before learning Azure, one should always learn on-premise, like the core concepts of on-premise, what it is. So, starting with SQL, any one of the programming languages, at least intermediate or basic should also do. These are like the pillars on top of which everything will be built. And then we have Spark, at least for the processing part, because anything you learn on premise, you can directly do it on cloud. It will be very easy. So Hive and not Hive, like any kind of data warehousing at least, and database you already have. So data warehousing as Hive, and then Spark as processing, a little bit of storage in HDFS. So once all these concepts are clear, no, you just go to any of the clouds. It's just the same. It's just a different service. So it becomes very easier to learn. So that's my always suggestion. First learn on-premise and then go to cloud.
Any other thing you would like to suggest? Because nowadays, like we have seen people talking a lot about Snowflake, Databricks, someone should know like entire DevOps and CI/CD part as well. So is it really that important in the beginning to learn, or this is something which can be taken in parallel once we get into this profile and gain some experience?
No, it's in the beginning. It's not very important, because see, there are different profiles also. If you go for only Snowflake data engineering profiles, there are other requirements for that. But data engineering is actually very vast. It's not only Snowflake. Or what is Snowflake? Snowflake is nothing, right? It's just an extension of what you do on data warehousing, or Snow Spark also, what you do on Spark. So it's all an extension of those native topics. So once a person knows Spark in detail, Snow Spark is nothing. It's just maybe syntax differences, right?
Correct.
So it can be taken in parallel. So once, like if I take up Snowflake right now, maybe it will take me 1 month to learn, or maybe less also. So if you start in the beginning, it will be difficult. So my suggestion is always, you learn the basics, learn whatever is needed at basic requirement, take up things in parallel.
Being a data engineering manager and leading the teams, you must have shortlisted and interviewed many folks for the data engineering profile in your team and maybe for some other projects. So what is your criteria to select best talent for the interviews, and during the interviews, what is your expectation from the candidate?
Okay, I'll tell you a very funny story about this. So recently what happened, I was interviewing this person. His answers were top notch. Okay, whatever I'm asking, it's detailed, it's word to word, everything. So I thought that something is wrong. Something has to be wrong. It cannot be this, because the reason was, when I'm asking him something out of the box, like some other terms or something, that guy is blank. So I was sure that something is wrong. So I started asking him different questions, like scenario-based questions. So, he can just use his brain and follow it. So that's when I saw that he's typing something. So basically he was searching his mobile. So anyway, so my criteria basically, see, I always divide into parts. So SQL, Python, I see that how their knowledge is. And the questions I ask is always scenario-based questions. Because definitions and all this, anyone can answer. But how would someone, and I always ask production based questions, like not exact production based questions, but I give them a scenario like this is what has happened, this is the ask from the client, how would you solve it? There can be multiple approaches. I do not focus on syntax. Syntax anyone can do, but at least the approach to solving it should work. And after SQL and Python, I go to Spark to understand the process, how they're processing, and then some of the cloud questions also. If it's for a senior profile, maybe some of designing, like I can see that this is the scenario, which service would I be using, and how can I connect these services. So my criteria is how they're approaching to solve the problem, because the resources are present on the internet. Once they start working, they can do it, I know, but how they're approaching, if they're even understanding the question, that's what matters to me the most.
So as you mentioned, you literally don't focus on the syntaxes and all when somebody is solving a Python problem or maybe a SQL related thing. So your core focus is on the logic building,
Yes.
right?
I mean, basic syntax, obviously, I will look at. It's not that someone will write anything.
Correct. Like
Because,
complete pseudo code only.
so that's not the thing. But basic, it can happen, like, order by can come after, partition by can come later. It can happen. It's all forgivable. But someone, I think, had wrote somewhere horrible code. So it makes sense that they do not even know that. So yeah, basic syntax plus the approach to solving it.
So can you describe life of a data engineering manager? Like how does your typical day looks like in your job?
Okay, my typical day looks like, I think, 3-4 hours of meetings. And apart from that, so yeah, basically we start off with scrum calls where we understand where everyone is, and even 2 scrum calls are there. So I also have to report to my seniors what is happening and what is not happening. And then we work agile, so we try to complete it in sprints, and sometimes break sprints into further sprints also, because it depends on the deadlines. And yeah, mostly meetings. That's the saddest part.
Yeah, maybe I would like to ask a couple of more things here. So you might be leading the team. So how do you bind these people together? I mean, how do you keep themselves motivated so that things are delivered on time? And there could be scenarios where deadlines are not met and something is delayed. Things could be really frustrating for you because of the pressure from the client or maybe the leadership. So how do you cope up with all these things by showing the true leadership skills so that you are not hurting someone as well, maybe by getting rude or anything? So how is this overall thing?
Yeah, so see, I don't believe in micromanagement. I think that if someone is given the freedom to work at their own pace, and they do come back. I mean, there are very small population of people who are like dheet, they do not do it. So that's a different approach to be taken. But maximum people do come back. So I give them the time. It's not that I'll give them 4 hours and after that I'll start asking where is it, what is it. So I give them the time, and I don't know, somewhere it has worked for me that I have always, I try to break the tasks. I have this project board and the timelines are given. I always consult with them. It's not that I give my own timelines. I consult with them that, what do you think is the feasibility of completing this by when? So they only give it to us. So, and I give the buffer also. So I have given them the freedom. They do understand that they have the freedom to operate this, and I won't say anything. And they themselves come to me. So, and for the DEET population, you have to be strict. You cannot do anything. You have to, at times really do micromanage because I also have to be answerable, right? Because there are delays in timelines. Recently, something happened. Things were changed in production. We had to sit till 2 a.m. and find that what is happening. So I always try to be the polite person, give them the freedom, because that's how I like it. It does improve, I can tell you. It does improve. If you give the person, they do understand. And then when I understand that they are not going to change, then I have to take other steps.
So is there any perception change as well? I mean, when, let's say, you were a junior developer and someone else was managing you, what was your perception for the managerial role? And now you are on that role. So what kind of perception shift here as per your experience?
So like when I was
being on both sides of the table.
I know. So when I was a junior, I remember I had a lead who I am very good terms with now. So when I used to go in front of the 𝗏𝗏, I used to pray to God that please let her not come to that. I was so tensed. I was always so tense. I used to cry that please let her not come. Please let her be sick. So that's a different story. But I have learned from her also. I've learned from every senior that I've worked with, and I think I have somewhere incorporated. So at that time, see, it was pre-COVID. Pre-COVID things were very different, because I'll tell you why. Because all of us who have joined pre-COVID, we have been to ILPs, we have been to these programs where are given the training from moving from college to corporate, right? So there's a little bit of seriousness. Nowadays, things are different. I don't think there are any ILPs, it's direct onboarding, and the switch from college to corporate, because you might have heard this deans are very cool and cas, like they just don't care. So I don't think that's also the correct approach, because at times what happens is, I think a bit of seriousness is needed. So I try to be a good manager, like not a micromanaged manager, but at times there are situations where you need to incorporate what seniors had followed, because there's a reason that they were at that time. So yeah, the change in perspective is that I don't want others to feel the way I used to feel at that time, like for example asking for leaves, or the fear, if I ask police what will happen. So that scenario has changed a lot, and I feel that it's a good thing.
Can you share your detailed interview process for the senior or like managerial role of the data engineering? Like typically how many rounds someone can expect, and at this experience or at this particular role, what kind of questions or things someone can expect in the different rounds of the interviews?
Okay, yeah, sure. A typical senior role involves, so you can say at least 3 rounds, at least. Maximum it can be 4 rounds also, or maybe more. So if we talk about 3 rounds, first round will be where they ask you about totally scenario based questions. I'm talking about like good companies and like named companies. So they will ask you about scenario based questions. I mean, 1 or 1.5 hours of interview, where they drill down every single point, that why is that, why is this, what happens if I change this particular value. So they want to understand how your core concepts are. Then going to the second round, it's a more detailed level scenario based questions and some other topics. Like if I talk about Spark, like theoretical questions of Spark, that how processing happens in the backend, how optimizations are done, then the calculations and the computations. So mainly revolved around that. So you can expect like theoretical questions as well as scenario based questions. And third round, mostly what I have faced is it's a techno managerial. So there will be a very senior person who will ask you about how, they will give you real life scenarios that your team is going through this and you are having to manage, how will you solve this part, and then some client requirements, this has happened, all this managerial type of questions along with some technical questions. So mostly these are what it involves, and then the HR round is there.
For these managerial and senior roles, like is there anything expected for the coding part as well? Like generally we take for the maybe junior data engineer, so there will be a maybe online assessment or dedicated DSA round or something. So how much that typical DSA is required at this level, if you have faced anything?
Yeah, so recently when I switched during this April. So I was giving interviews from January. So I gave around, I think, 8 or 9. 2 companies were there for which there was a DSA round. And the questions, I mean, there were 2 questions where you have to, just sit and code in front of the interviewer only. And once you solve it, they will ask you all those, time complexities and other complexities, how it is calculated. So I would say that W3 schools is one runs from that, and there are books also. I have a book from college. I don't exactly remember the name, but basic understanding of DSA, like how it works, should be fine at this level with 7-8 years of experience. It's not that you have to know very much, because it's a very small percentage of companies who ask for it.
So a lot of entry level freshers are struggling these days to get a job in the data engineering. The common thing which I have heard, they are facing issues like companies are asking for the experience, and we being on the entry level fresher sides, how we can gain that, right? So what is your suggestion of effective planning for job search, specifically for the entry level freshers, and anything related to resume preparation or projects they should work on, so that if companies is asking for some experience, they can gain it on their own?
Yeah. So yeah, the first thing is the project, definitely. So they do have to build projects on their own. And when I say projects, it involves explanation of, if I talk about cloud only, so it should involve the explanation of why those services were used, what is the importance of it. Like for example, let's say there are in Azure, there is logic apps, there is function apps. So both kind of do the same thing mostly, but there's a small difference also. There are difference in use cases also. Function apps do some things, logic apps do something. So this is a small difference. So if someone is doing the project, let's say they're taking it from the internet also for freshers, they should understand that why they are doing what they are doing. Because when they go into interviews, if someone asks for experience also, they should be able to answer like a person with experience, right? They are showing that they have experience, so they should be able to answer this question. It's not a plain about SQL, writing SQL code or Python code. So if whatever roles they're applying for, they should have the clear understanding of the JD. They should understand, and also whatever is see what happens is a lot of people I have dealt with, they write anything on the resume. They don't know why they're writing on the resume. You can have a one-page resume, but you should know each and every word that you have written. So keep it crisp and short. But if you just write Azure function apps, your knowledge should be vast on that. That's what my always suggestion is. Because in this market, it's difficult already. So that's what can make them stand out.
How much average salary the senior data engineers or the data engineering managers are typically getting in India?
Okay.
Because you must have given the interviews at multiple organizations, service, product, consulting, right? So what kind of average compensation they were offering to you?
Yeah. So when I started giving the interviews this year, it was mostly around 30 to 35. And of course, I mean, you have to play some negotiation games, so that's a different thing. So you can, at 7 years experience, you can have around 30 to 35. And then if you give more interviews, it can go up to 40, 42.
Wow, 40, 42 as well at this experience level.
But yeah, there are companies you need to, pick search, or you have to get a hold of. But yeah, they do offer.
So, like, do you have any preference as well? Like, since you are already 8 years in the industry, any preference of working in some sort of dream company? Do you have any that kind of perception, or you are more focused towards the good work rather than the brand name or that luxury work-life balance?
Yeah, I'm more focused on the good work. I'm more focused on learning the things, because I have worked for MNC. I have very good experience in it. I don't have any problem in that. But what I believe is that my resume, what I am learning, that should keep on growing exponentially, right? Because if I don't get the opportunity, and what will I do with brand? I mean, nothing, right? So I'm a very ambitious person. So I am very keen on learning things and certifications and exploring new things. So no, that doesn't work for me.
So, how do you keep yourself updated? Do you regularly follow some blogs or the industry trend and try to learn those new tech stack on your own, or you wait for the right project to come up and then I will learn maybe after a year or so? I don't have bandwidth currently.
No, I keep on learning. So I am very active person on LinkedIn. So I see what everyone is doing. If someone has done any certification, what that includes. If someone is writing any blog, what that includes. So I keep on updating myself. It's not that I'll read for, because it's not the correct there's nothing called correct time in project, right? I have worked on projects also before where they do nothing. Okay, so they have tech stacks, but then nothing is being done. So you need to keep on updating yourself, even if it takes, a small Snowflake project, a small Azure project. At least watching videos on YouTube also. So that also helps. You should be in touch with the things.
What is the plan from this point now, being onto the manager role? Where do you like to see yourself maybe in next 5 to 10 years? This may sound like a typical interview question as well. Where do you see yourself after 5 years? But there are multiple trajectories, right? Maybe someone can plan to go completely in the people manager side, or someone wish to stay in the coding part or developing the things, architecting the designs and whatnot. So what's your plan moving forward?
So my plan is to go in the architect side only. I would like to, be very attached to coding, my base, and also architecture. When building architecture, it's very cool. It's very fun, because you suggest some things and then those don't not work out. So you, and also the most important part of architecture is that you get to know what new things have come up for which you can suggest, right? So that's also a way to keep updating yourself. So yeah, my plan is to go into the architect role. If you ask me in IT, but otherwise my plan is to open an animal center. So that's a different
Okay,
thing.
I have seen it. I have seen it, and I totally
So
love it.
yeah, but for that, again, DEP is money, so I need money, so I need to go into architect role.
Yeah, it was good interaction. I hope a lot of people have learned from your experience that how a data engineering manager hires a candidate, and how they should interview, what they need to prepare, and how things actually look in reality, and how you should be. So thank you so much. Very big thanks from my side and from the entire audience that you came up and shared your honest data engineering experience.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me too.
So that is what I had for all of you in this amazing podcast. I'm pretty sure you have enjoyed this entire session with the Chandrali and whatever experience she had shared with all of you. If you find it insightful, meaningful, knowledgeable, then make sure to give a like in the big numbers, share it with your fellow friends, and make sure to smash the subscribe button and press the notification icon if you are watching my channel for the very first time. And as I said, don't forget to enroll yourself in the Data Analytics 4.0 bootcamp with the business intelligence, where you will be learning the entire data analytics with industrial projects in just 12 weeks in the live classroom environment. So you can visit www.growdataskills.com to enroll and check the link given in the description. And if you have any doubt or query or the questions, then give us a call or a WhatsApp message on this given number. So I will see you guys really soon with another amazing video. Till then, just keep exploring data.